The zoning hearing. Hi,
Sorry.
Kiara. Good morning. I'm convening the zoning hearing officer meeting of February the 16th, 2023. I am Joe LeClaire, the zoning hearing officer, San Mateo County Planning and Building Department. Deb, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You're muted, Deb.
Oh, no, she's not.
I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice
for all. Thank you. We'll now provide an opportunity for oral communications from the public for any item or matter that is not on the agenda. Deb, can you please read the instructions for anyone who would like to offer public comment for unagendized items? Oh, you're unable to because we can't hear you. Me?
I can do it. I'm sorry. Here,
Yeah.
I know Deb, something's wrong on her audio as well. So I'll go ahead and read that for you. Let's see, for those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raised hand feature in order to organize any public comments during general public comment period. And for those on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click on the raised hand feature to raise your hand to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. Please note that members of the public must wait for my prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raised hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand at the beginning of a meeting for an agenda item that is later in the meeting. When you hear your name called, please unmute your microphone and you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. So I think at this point, we're good to go. There's nothing, nobody has their hand raised or anything, Joe.
Oh, thank you, Jenna. Very good. So we'll move on now to the consent agenda. So we have 3 items on today's consent agenda. And they include a proposal by the owners, Keith and Cynthia Waddell, and Verizon Wireless to update or extend a use renewal permit, permit number PLN 2011-00312 in a property near Tenitas Creek Road on Cabrillo Highway. So it's a use permit extension. Item number 2 on the consent agenda is a proposal by the Coastside County Water District and T-Mobile to also renew a use permit. And it's located at 661 Miramar Drive in Miramar on the coast side. It'd be a renewal of use permit number PLN 2007-00480. And the third consent calendar item that we have is a proposal by owner Nathan Kohler and a lessee, Shukri Azar, to re-establish a deli called Two Cousins Deli at 1330 Old County Road in unincorporated Belmont. And the planning case number for that is PLN 2022-00180. So I've read all the staff reports on these items and I'm prepared to act on them, but I want to ask if there's anyone in the public who wishes to have one of these or any of these heard at a public hearing this morning. If so, please raise your hand.
I'm sorry, Joe. There is one hand raised, or actually it was, now it's gone. Oh, for this item, do you want me to go ahead and unmute the mic?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have Arancha Casal. I'm sorry for the name and maybe I chopped it up, but please go ahead and you may begin speaking.
Yes, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope I'm at the right meeting. I'm here for the Montara Water Company proposed cell tower on the Alta Vista Road.
Yeah, it's a use permit renewal.
Oh, it is. Okay. So this
The
this
tower's
was-
already there. It's just a question of whether it should remain there.
Oh, no. We're talking about something else. This would be a new cell tower on a water tank. At the
Oh,
top.
yeah, that's not on the consent agenda. That's a public hearing item, so we're not quite there yet. So if you could wait until we get there, we'll take your public comment then.
But this is today, correct? This is the right
It
meeting.
is today, yes. It's just not yet.
Okay, thank you.
So we have three items on the consent agenda, and no one else has raised their hand indicating they would like to have a public hearing.
Correct, yes.
So, okay, so I'm going to approve these consent items pursuant to the findings and subject to the conditions of approval in the staff reports. If anyone wishes to appeal the decision to the Planning Commission, they may do so within 10 working days. And let's see, that would be March the 2nd would be the time by which an appeal needs to be filed with the, is it the 3rd? March the 3rd, I stand corrected. So an appeal would need to be filed with the planning, at the planning counter within 10 working days by March the 3rd. And the application needs to be in writing and would need to be accompanied by a $616.35 appeal fee. So we will now move on to our regular agenda where we have one item. It's a proposal, as a member of the public just pointed out, for a cell tower on Montara Water and Sanitary District property in Montara. And I'm going to let Olivia, staff planner on the project, introduce and present this project to us. Olivia?
Hi, good morning, zoning hearing officer and county staff and members of the public. I would like to first request a continuance for this project, and due to were received 4 public comments, but one specifically was a letter from Fish and Game that requested and required that due to some possible sensitive habitat that exists on site, that a biologist be required. And just to clarify that, upon staff's review of county resources, this was not found or known. But because Fish and Game is the specialist on this subject, that staff is requesting a continuance to further explore this item, the specific item in question. And the applicant is planning to submit a biologist report for this to address this question.
Very good. Now, I understand, Olivia, that there is a tolling situation with regard to this application, and we have not noticed it for the March 2nd meeting because that would have had to go to the newspapers earlier in the week, and the March 16th meeting has been canceled. So the first meeting in April would be the next meeting at which this project could be heard. Is that going to be acceptable to the applicant?
The applicant should be online, but I would also like to note, just before the applicant speaks, is that it's not known for once the biologist study is submitted, staff does need to confirm and also work with Fish and Game to confirm whether There is, whether it does confirm there's sensitive habitat or whether or not there is none. And then it will likely highly require revision of a staff report and possibly recirculation of the mitigated negative declaration. So that will need to play into the timeframe.
Understood. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So obviously we can't predict today when the thing will be heard, just that we will. And with regard to noticing, I noticed that, no pun intended, that some of the public comment we received was that people were unaware of the proposal. So have we got the right addresses and the proper scope of the project? Because I understand that some of the grading work, trenching in the roadway, extends perhaps down the road beyond some of the beyond, maybe it might implicate noticing a couple more people, a couple more.
Got it. Oh,
properties.
understood. And yes, in terms of the public noticing, I did communicate with the interested party, and it was confirmed that the person is listed on as part of the labels. So that part was correct. Unfortunately, the address is outdated, and staff does pull from, I believe, the assessor's office. So I think the correction has to be made from a different department and or maybe also the property owner. I'm not sure how that is corrected.
Yes, that well, in terms of the information on file with the assessor's office, you're right. That's all we can rely on. And if the property owner hasn't updated the information there, then we don't have a means of reaching them. So I think we've heard from enough people to be able to make sure that we can notice everyone for the next time this comes up. So is there anything else to cover at this point? We'll do a presentation at the time that this is heard. So with that, we'll continue this item to a future meeting to be identified once once we have a complete application, a revised application. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. So thank you all for coming, and we'll, like I said, we'll be in touch about when the item will be heard in the future.
Sorry, Joe, just before you were gonna adjourn, I don't know if you want to do that or not, but Philip Levine just raised his hand. Should we let him know, ask what his inquiry is, or should we just adjourn it?
Sure, yeah, we can do that. That'd be fine.
Okay, hold on just a second. Mr. Levine?
Yes, thank you. Before you adjourn, I'd just like to raise a number of concerns that I don't think were addressed in the initial report. The first one you did mention is there, the proposal includes trenching down the road from the proposed site. That road is not a county road. It's a road that was paved, and it's maintained at the expense of the neighbors that live on the hill. And I'm not sure that it addressed at all, how that, what would be done to that road and what would be done to mitigate or to repair it if it is in fact being trenched.
Before we leave that issue, Mr. Levine, do you know who owns the right of way for the road?
I'm not sure who owns the right of way for the road. I know that the road that Alta Vista from the junction with Linda Vista is not a county road, and the road itself was grave painted, and it's maintained by the neighbors.
And yeah, so well, we'll look into that in terms of who owns it, because after all, and do you have some kind of an arrangement with the owner of the road to do that work and do the maintenance?
Well, the neighbors are the ones that do the maintenance and that paid for the paving of the road.
Well, but if you, So you're not sure whether you own it. And if you don't own it, typically people don't let you work on their property without permission.
Yeah, I can find out that information.
That would be very helpful, but we'll and you can coordinate with Olivia on that as well, because that's important information for having a complete application and a complete understanding of the project.
Okay. And the other significant concern that we have as the neighbors is the radiation that comes from cell phone towers, and the studies that have been done that show that residences within a quarter mile of a cell phone tower are prone to, or there've been 3 to 4-fold cases of cancer in residences living within quarter of a mile of cell phone towers. There's a study done in Germany that shows that. There was a study done by the Tel Aviv University that came up with the same results.
By which university, excuse me?
Tel Aviv University.
I still didn't understand.
Tel Aviv University in Israel. Tel Aviv.
Oh, Tel Aviv. Thank you. If you wouldn't, if you have links to those studies, if you could forward them to Ms. Boo, I would appreciate that. One thing I want to point out with regard to the policies that govern the county's consideration of this application. We rely on our general plan and zoning ordinance, our local coastal program, which is certified by the California Coastal Commission. And then but all those are constrained by the federal laws and regulations that govern the installation of cell phone towers. So the federal government has treated cell phone towers like utilities, much like electric lines, sewer, water, and other communications equipment. And we and included in those regulations are thresholds of radiation out, or I forgot the technical term for what the emissions are that come from these antennae, but the levels of emissions from these antennae are regulated by the federal government, not by the county. So what we can do in our role is to review application materials to ensure that the antennae do not exceed the emissions amounts authorized by the federal government. And but we cannot establish different thresholds for those emissions ourselves. Those are, there's a federal preemption with regard to aspects of the cell phone tower installations, and we simply don't have jurisdiction beyond ensuring that the project complies with federal standards with regard to those matters. So I just share that as some information, but we look forward to taking a look at the studies that you have identified, and we'll discuss this further at a subsequent meeting. Were there any other issues that you felt we had not addressed?
Well, those were the two main concerns. I mean, also, the proposed location on the property that the water department owns is at the point which is probably closest to all of the residents that are there. And, the property is fairly significant, and there could be other locations this antenna could be placed at where it wouldn't be as close to the properties. So I'd like to understand why that was not taken into account.
Okay.
Their property runs probably a quarter of a mile, if not more, up to the entrance to the Golden Gate National Recreational Area. And they also have a pumping facility that's a lot further up the hill. So you know, it's unclear why the proposed location of this antenna is so close to all the residences and at the southernmost point on their property and not further up the hill.
Well, we'll have the applicant address that in at the subsequent meeting that we'll have on this matter. Well,
with
thank you for that. And before I adjourn the meeting,
Also, sorry, Joe. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but with that, there are two other hands raised right now. So I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and give them some time as well, or to just table it or have them write it.
I think that we've you know, since we're going to hear this at a public hearing,
Okay.
we don't need to continue. This isn't a, you know, it's not a public hearing, and so we're and I think, you know, we've gotten the testimony from Mr. Levine that summarizes what we've heard from other neighbors in the vicinity. So I think we'll just you know, give people a chance to comment on the revised proposal, because based on all that we've heard today, it might be a very different project that that comes forward from the applicant. So, but I did want to give a shout out to Deb, our faithful ZHO secretary. I don't know if Deb is still around.
She's
There
right
she
there.
is. So Deb is retiring from the county after how many years, Deb? Again, we can't hear you.
A lot.
A lot.
Well, like
15, after 15
20
years
or
with the
something.
county. And I just wanted to, you know, let everyone know how grateful we are for Deb's faithful and dedicated service and capable you know, management of the ZHO meetings and all the letters and staff reports. So Deb, thank you so much. And we wish you all the best in retirement. And we look forward to seeing you from time to time. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that, I will now adjourn the meeting in honor of Deb. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye, Deb.
Bye.
See you in a minute.
In a minute. Oh, yeah, because you're there, huh? That's why. Okay.